I'm going to give you the subject of this particular vlog up front, something I normally don't do. Normally, I would tell you or get to the subject somewhere toward the end. This particular vlog is going to be about correction. Now, I know when you hear the word correction, you start thinking of maybe chastisement or even punishment on some level. But I'm not using the word correction that way. I'm using correction that addresses how we achieve the thing that we've been trying to do for such a long time. But we can't seem to break through. We can't seem to get to the other side of where we were even 2 or 3 years ago. Same vision, same ideas, same passion. We hit a wall and we can't break through. And I believe we don't break through because we refuse to correct our past. We refuse to try something different and get a different result because we're stubborn. We want to achieve success the only way we believe it can be and should be achieved. And we want to hold on to our own sense of self and integrity and morals, and all of that's interesting and certainly, you know, a noble pursuit. But the reality of it is at some point you will have to risk putting your own ideas of success on the line in order to get to a place where you now have power to control how someone else makes success, maybe if not yourself. If you can remember back when the talk shows were just beginning and you had people like Phil Donahue and Oprah Winfrey in the early stages, there was a lot of sensational talk shows and we were riveted by them because what we were discovering were the idea that we were not alone and that families were just as messed up as our own families, and we kind of took pleasure in watching them disintegrate on stage and fall apart. And then along came an idea that doing that over and over and over and over and over and over again wasn't achieving anything. We weren't really learning. We were just watching and secretly having a voyeuristic enjoyment. It took courage for someone to say, I can make a lot of money doing it this way, but I choose to discover another way, another path. And with that said, the present climate of talk shows, and I don't want to say all of them have awakened and gotten this, but there's a lot of them that have now started to talk about things that matter. Health issues, ideas of social and political injustices. There's a lot of different types of talk shows. But then a lot of that was regulated by network television. Network television has advertisers, and advertisers can dictate what you can and can't say. So even when you had freedom, you didn't have it. And then along came this thing called the internet. And more specifically YouTube, but now YouTube is Instagram and Twitter, Periscope. There's a lot of these platforms out there now where you can talk directly to an audience. But here's the deal. With no restrictions, everything was a new frontier. You could vlog about anything and everything. And as a result of being able to have that kind of freedom, your own sense of self, your own self-discipline had to show up. You had to learn how to censor yourself. You had to learn how to control not just what you said, but how you said it. And you had no editors, you had no producers, you had no director correcting you. It really was a one-man band. And the only way to be better at this is to become better in yourself. We come back to the beginning of this video now. I want to talk about correction. How do you have the courage to correct the thing that you thought was your truth when you discover that it's no longer serving you. That is probably where most of us live. It's not that we don't know better. It's not that we're not ready to do better. We just don't know how. And you can't do better when everyone around you still sees you in your old definition. So you could say, I'm going to stop drinking, or I'm going to drink less. But if your whole environment is geared for you to have that support to do what you've always done, I don't know if you will really ever change. When I stopped drinking, in about a period of maybe 5 years, where I had to not be around liquor at all. I didn't have it in my house. I didn't go to parties where it was. I obviously didn't go to the bars. I was not in the presence of it until I built up a resistance to thinking about it, needing to think about it, dreaming about it. And that's how long it took for me. So when I talk to people who say I desire to stop drinking, or I desire to be sober, and I watch them not even go 24 hours without doing it, I don't have a lot of faith in them. And that is not about their character. It's just that I know what a sacrifice it was for me to leave it alone completely, and the people that would have enticed me to do it. So a lot of people are probably trying to figure out, how did they lose me as a friend? You never lost me as a friend. I just couldn't be around your behavior. And that's just the way it is. There comes a point where I wanted what I needed best for me more than I needed that friendship. And I can lay anything on the altar. Trust me. I can lay anybody, anything, anyone, anytime on the altar. Because I will not have the life that I wish to have if I keep compromising, trying to make something happen where it's already dead. Okay, I want to go back to correction and talk about it from another place that I hope will be helpful to you. Here's correction at this level. I did it that way, and I had success. But this is a different time and a different climate, which means I probably can't do it that way again. Am I willing to adjust my understanding of the climate that I'm in now so that I can be more effective now than I was a few years ago, just a short few years ago? You know, I love recording music, but I'm an analog man. I want the recording studio, I want the condenser mics, I want the ambiance of that. And yet we live in a digital age and everything is quick and fast, and no real live instruments anymore, all of that. And you can make good music that way, no doubt about it. You hear it on the radio all day, every day. It's just not how I enjoy doing it. Now, I can stop recording music altogether, which is what I did, or I can find a way to have a sense of how I enjoy doing it with the new equipment. And if I don't make that adjustment, I may never, ever, ever record again, because there are fewer and fewer truly analog studios out there. You can't make any money that way. It's so expensive to bring in live musicians and live strings and record them, and you know, the tape alone is expensive. So I can stay doing what I've always done, but I'll get what I've always gotten, or I actually will get less, or I will find a way to embrace the new technology and try and be as creative in that realm as you had to be when you were singing live to tape. See, that's what I realized I loved more than anything else, was the singing live to tape. See, what I didn't like and what I don't like about digital is that you go in there knowing you can punch this, fix that, back this up, loop that, twist this around, slow this down, speed this up. Can you ever really perform that song if you do all of that stuff to it in the studio? So what I did discover is that I wasn't so much married to the analog outcome as I was married to the analog process. I love singing and performing live, period. Whatever I did, however the note bent, that was how it was supposed to be. To sanitize something to the point where it sounds so perfect, for me, seems soulless. And that's how I had to correct my own path and my own understanding of my contribution to music. Now, the correction goes deeper. It goes into your spiritual understanding. A lot of us believe what we believe because our parents believed it. Our grandparents believed it. And I've said time and again that some of us will never understand our full strength of who we could be in this world until there's been a couple of funerals. And sadly, I've lived long enough now that most of the people that were the gatekeepers of what I could or couldn't do or should or shouldn't say have passed. So I have this incredible freedom. But I know if you're in your 20s or younger or even as old as maybe 40 something, you're probably still dealing with someone who has an incredible influence on you. And even though you might think or feel or believe differently, you're never going to deal with that until that shadow is no longer hovering over you. That's just reality. Now, freedom would be if you find the courage to be your best self while they're still alive and help them grow as well. But most of us don't have the courage to do that. So I want to encourage those of us who always tell other people to be yourself and to be authentic, to realize that there is a lot of restrictions to some people being authentic. And some things you just won't do until you have a certain age behind you. Because you finally get to that place at that age where you can finally say to people that even had authority and are still alive, I'm okay now. You can stop trying to raise me. I am who I am, and I'm going to be who I'm going to be. Another thing that comes up when I talk about correction on this level is when we connect with certain friends, certain partnerships, we start believing that we're supposed to be identical. And we punish the other person for having a different thought or for having a different way of being or having a different need or a different desire that's different from what you need. And we want to be in the position of being right. Well, neither one of you are right. You're individuals. That's the whole point of life. And you have to get to a point of acceptance that this person is exactly who they want to be, or they would do things differently. And you need to be who you should be and start compromising, trying to keep this person in your life, because if you do this, they're going to not like you or not be with you. It's a lot of wasted time. Go your separate ways, be happy, be carefree, do what you've got to do, because you can't keep holding the other person back. You're standing in the way of their vision. You're standing in the way of their God-given right to shine the way they want to shine. And I mean at every level. You could be married to someone and discover you have a very, very marked difference in philosophy. What do? If you cannot compromise and come to an understanding, do you fight about that thing for the rest of your lives? And you raise kids up on either side of that, always at each other's throat because daddy and mommy can't come together on this, so why should we? See, when you don't figure out how you should be in this world, and then you get married and you start raising kids who are just as torn and just as dysfunctional, Was that what you were brought on this planet to do? Really? Is that your best? I don't know. I doubt it. But who am I? I'm just a 60-plus-year-old man telling you that times are wasting. Everything that is going to happen is already started happening. It's happening right now. If you don't believe it, slow down just long enough to feel the progress slip away from you. You're either going to pick up the pace, say what you need to say, in the moment that someone asks you the question, answer them and move on, or hold everybody hostage until you figure out who you are and what it is you want, and then you'll let everybody else know what you want, and then they'll all be sitting where they were last sitting, and they'll say, okay, can we move now? Now you know that's not reality. But we behave like it is, don't we? All the time. We think that because we can't figure out what we want, everybody else in the world should stop moving until we do. It doesn't happen that way. And you're wasting daylight. You're wasting daylight trying to find the right time, right word, right place, right condition of the sun and the moon and the stars. And then I'll say, this is what I was holding back. Correction means today, for me, don't let another dishonest moment pass you by. Clear it all up. Tell the truth. Be free. There's no time like the present.